Okay, welcome everybody to another episode of our SAM.gov Bids Live. I'll tell you right off the gate here, this is going to be a different kind of episode. I don't have any bids to go over with you. Okay, we are still live, and definitely look forward to conversing with you. But today is going to be more of a topical video, and today I'm going to talk about really a number of things, but I think you'll be able to see how they're all interrelated. I want to talk to you about what brings you to government contracting to begin with. Okay. I want to talk to you about maybe some of my story I'm probably going to weave in. I also want to talk about mental health. I know we just had Mental Health Day, and it's something that I don't think is talked about enough. I'm glad that there's a day for it, but it's definitely something that's been a struggle my entire life. And so I know there's so many others who are affected by it as well. So that's kind of the darts that I have on my notepad here next to me that I wanted to talk about and speak on. And I think we'll kind of weave them together. And I think you probably already get a sense of how these things would go together. So starting off, what brings you to government contracting? Okay, I've had so many conversations. Okay, hundreds, if not thousands, probably getting close to thousands over the last 4 years of speaking with new federal contractors. Okay, people that are registered, people that are not registered, people that have won a couple of contracts or trying to go next level, people that have established businesses, or people that are just brand new and they're just they see the opportunity that exists and they're wanting to do this for themselves. So what is bringing you here? If you're a new business, okay, maybe you created a business just to register in SAM. Maybe you're looking for financial freedom. Maybe you're looking to leave a job that you hate, or like do a slow transition into something that's more on your terms instead of doing the 9 to 5 grind, the hamster wheel. I get it. Maybe you're looking for legacy. Maybe you're looking for making more of an impact. Okay, you know that you're a leader. Maybe you can create opportunities throughout your company for family members and friends and beyond, something beyond yourself. And you're trying to create a business in the space for those reasons. Or you just want to get your time back and you want to spend more time with your family. These are all amazing reasons. Or like I said, if you have an established business, something existing in the commercial space, you want to take your business to the next level. So you want federal contracting to be the thing, right? Or you're looking for the next challenge. Maybe you just want to be known as the guy or gal who's killing it in government contracting. Okay, these are also reasons, and they are often the deeper reasons that move us, because I hear way too often people say, I want to get into government contracting because I want to win some contracts. Right? That's what we're all here for, right? We want to win contracts. But why? So those reasons I just hit on are often the reasons that I hear. If you're live on the chat, let me know. Kevin, good morning. Invictus, Devonda, let me know. What is it that brought you to government contracting, or why you're still here? You're trying to crack this nut, figure this out for you. Okay. I know it goes deeper than I want to win some contracts. I want to make some money, or I want to get rich, or like whatever, right? What is that deeper thing for you? Like, I'm really curious to know. But the odds are is some of those things that I mentioned, either be your own boss, transitioning out of the 9 to 5, creating legacy, creating freedom, creating opportunities for your family, or just buying your time back so that you can spend more time with your family, your parents, or your kids. These are all the deeper reasons that move us, that people come to government contracting to use it as a vehicle. Right? Because government contracting, nobody needs to do this stuff, right? Unless you're like weird like me, and I'm not even that weird in this sense. Like I definitely like government contracting because you tend to like the things that you're good at, but it's not something that I overly love, right? I'm not overly passionate about reading through solicitations or writing proposals, okay? I'm passionate about the impact that those can have, or the impact I can have showing other people how to use this vehicle, not to like just win contracts and make a lot of money, but again, what that means for you. And that's what drives me, which is why I'm so deeply rooted into why are you doing this? Again, we're still on the first question. What brings you to government contracting? Okay. Invictus says we're just starting on the ground level. So setting up the business, getting the grind for financial freedom, right? And to be with the kids. That's what I'm talking about, Invictus. It's the financial freedom. It's the kids. Smart cookie. I want my children to not have to struggle as my family has. I want a better quality of life. Exactly. Devonda, I work in procurement in the Navy and I enjoyed it. And now I want to do it myself. So Devonda, why do you want to do it yourself? Are you saying because you enjoy it? If so, that's amazing. You're one of the few who actually enjoy it. Invictus, motivated to grind now, to have more time with the family in the future, like you said. And that's the thing, guys. That's why this is a different type of episode. So for some of you who are like, oh, we're not looking at bids today. No, we're not looking at bids today. Today, we're kind of speaking a little bit more from the heart and speaking more to what's driving you. Okay. And so these are the things that it's crucially important. This isn't me preaching. Okay. This is me reminding not only you, but myself, because I need to do this sometimes every single day. I need to remember and stay close and connected. What is my mission anyways? You know, our time here is it's long, but it's short at the same time. And it's also undefined and it's not promised. And all too often we all are guilty of taking people in our lives and time for granted. And then, you know, once, maybe every 5 years or something, we get this little wake up and it's like, oh yeah, like I need to be living life on my terms, you know, or at least working towards it. Okay. There's no point of torturing ourselves by saying we need to be there tomorrow. I've done it. I've done it for decades. But kind of finding peace in the plan, peace in progress, knowing that you're making progress towards, you know, living life on your terms, or stepping into that next level version of yourself that you know that you're capable of being. Okay. We need to find peace in that, because it doesn't happen overnight. You know, and life is all about who you become, not what you do. Okay. The things you do help you to become that person. But at the end of the day, who you became is going to be what you're most proud of and your most fondest things, right? You know, the experiences you've had, the people you've met, the people you've helped, again, the person that you've become. And I'm not preaching, guys, because I don't know shit, right? You know, pardon my French. I don't know anything, right? But these are things that I hear from people who have lived their lives. And these are the things that they say over and over and over again. And to me, when I hear it, it sounds like truth. And usually when you hear the truth, you know it. Okay. You know the difference between tips and tactics and truth. And you know, truth cuts through like a knife. It cuts through all of the BS. And we need to constantly be remembering that and reminding ourselves. And again, this is something I need to do for myself. And I know you would probably agree. So that we stay close to our mission. The further we get from our mission, why are we here? What are we doing on this planet? You know, what are we going to look back and be proud of? What are we, you know, what are our kids going to say about us? What is our family going to say about us? And how do we want to impact the lives that we can impact? If you're called and driven to do so, we need to stay close to that. Otherwise, life is hard. Life is so hard. And there's the things that we can't control that make it hard. But then there's also, you know, that's like the external world. But then there's also the internal world that makes it hard. The space between, you know, our two ears here, these 6 inches between our ears, sometimes get us so messed up. And so much of that is our mental health. Our mental health is the self-talk that and I'm not, okay? I have no credentialing. I have no working experience. I only have living in this body for 35 years. And also seeing and being close friends and close family with people who have had mental health issues. It is the only place that I have to speak from. Okay. So I'm going to keep saying it because I'm not preaching. I'm just from a person to another person talking about my life experience, which I do get to speak on. And I do think you all can relate to, which is why we're doing this different kind of episode today. Oftentimes it's us. I know for me, I've dealt with self-confidence issues my entire life. Feelings of not feeling good enough, self-worth issues. Derek, why are you talking about this on a government contracting platform? Because it matters, okay? Because who you are personally definitely flows through to who you are in business, professionally. It's a direct link. So if your business is not going the way that you are wanting it to go, maybe we take a look at what's going on with us, okay? Maybe we're sabotaging ourselves. Maybe we're holding ourselves back, okay? Maybe we just don't think we're good enough. Maybe we're tied to events from childhood and we're still playing records, okay, that need to be changed because they don't need to be played anymore. They're doing a disservice to us. These are things that I've certainly dealt with. And so many of the clients that I work with, the reason that they don't break through, and I know this because I also get to see the ones who do break through and have amazing results, and win contracts really, really quickly. And not just one contract, but multiple really quickly. So much of it is the psychology and the belief system. And sometimes they're just not in their own way. Okay. It's not all just about the tips, the tactics, the strategies, the proposal documents, building up your skill levels over time. All these things that I do like to talk about a lot on the channel. Sometimes there's this missing piece that is us. Like, meaning, if you don't really believe you can do this, you don't think you can do this, and then somebody gives you the most perfect plan, what do you think is going to happen? You're still not going to do it. You're not going to get the result. You're not going to win the contract or whatever it is. You're not going to. You're not going to. And then on the vice versa, the people who have limited to no resources, they know nothing about this, but they just go in and they're like, okay, I'm just going to grind my way through it. I'm going to kind of just learn the hard way. But they have such a strong motivation. They have such a strong tie to why they're wanting to do this that drives them. They actually end up being way more successful. And this happens majority of the time. The person who has the least resources, but the strongest motivation and connection to that, and the right mindset, the right psychology, they beat the person every day of the week who has the perfect resources and tools and training and whatever. Okay. And it's that missing piece, and that missing piece is you. And it's not just with government contracting, but it's anything that you do. And I've learned this for myself as well. So I think we need to honor this. I think it's important to shine a spotlight on this, whatever you want to call it, mental health, the space that we occupy, the thoughts that we think, the feelings that we feel, and therefore the actions that we take, because we all have the same amount of time in a day. Okay. Could you have done more towards your goal, towards your mission yesterday? Looking back, what did you do yesterday? Could you have done more? And I'm not saying hustle, grind in a way where your life becomes so unbalanced. But at some point you do have to become obsessive. People who win are obsessive about the thing they're doing. It doesn't mean you have to make yourself sick doing it, but you do have to become obsessed about it in whatever way that's going to look like for you. If you're just not obsessed about doing the thing, that's the drive. That's the motivation. You need to find it. You need to find the thing that makes you obsessed, to use government contracting as the vehicle to attain your dreams, to attain your goals, and to attain the vision for your life. Because at the beginning of this, we got very clear what really brought you to government contracting. Okay, there's the opportunity. Okay, opportunity to do what? Opportunity, what is that going to mean for you? Okay. But then if we get caught up in the tips and the tactics and the strategies and we lose sight of why we're doing this in the first place, those things are going to fizzle and they're not going to work. The good news is if you have both, you're just going to like smash years into months and weeks. If you have both, I promise you, and I see it, and I've seen it for the last 4 years. I hear a lot of people tell me like, oh, Derek, like you're not bidding contracts directly anymore for yourself. So how do I know I can trust you? Seriously, I hear this. It's absolutely crazy. Well, let me put it to you this way. I had a math teacher who was like a whiz in math, like amazing at math. And she taught trig, she taught pre-calc, calc 1 and calc 2 in high school. Okay, I went up to calc in high school. I love this lady to death, family friend, everything. Best math teacher. I didn't learn anything. Okay. I didn't learn anything. She lived that stuff. Okay. Like and I don't mean lived it like she did it every day, but like she was so just about it for herself. Me and so many of her students, we could not connect. We were not able to learn from her because she was not able to explain it in a way that makes sense. Okay. And so that's what I try to do. And that's a lot of the feedback and compliments that I get. Derek, you break things down in layman's terms. Yeah, well, why do I do that? Because I'm a freaking slow learner. I'm the slowest learner you're ever going to meet. I ask a million questions. I don't get it. I think I'm dyslexic, or I think I have some sort of learning disability because I've had it since I was a child. And when somebody says something, everybody else gets it except for me. So now I'm super passionate because I've learned something that is so complex and complicated, and I have the gift to be able to break it down in a way that people can understand. Because I've sat in the class, okay? So I don't care how good the person is at doing the thing. How good are they at helping you to get the result? Okay, because it doesn't matter what they can do for themselves. It matters what can they do for you. Seeing a comment, I don't hear you anymore. Can some of you let me know in the chat if you can hear me? Maybe you're just having like an internet issue. It happens from time to time. But if you guys can let me know that you can hear me, that would be great. Just check here. I don't want to keep talking. Yeah, let me know in the chat, guys, if you can hear me. This is the beauty of going live, guys. This is the beauty of going live. Loud and clear. Okay. Yeah, Smart Cookie, it's probably an internet issue on your end. Thank you so much, C-Tuck, for letting me know that you can hear me. It'll probably the Bluetooth for sure. But anyways, I know we're kind of like all over the place today, right? But that's cool, right? This is my channel. I can do whatever I want. I'm hanging out with my people on live. What do we got going on in the chat? Devonda says, yes, I enjoy the contracting field, but for financial freedom of being a full-time entrepreneur. That's the reason. That's the motivation. 100%, Devonda. Smart Cookie, I love it. What are they going to say about me at my funeral? I got to see, you guys ever see the show called The Prophet, Marcus Lemonis? I got to see him a couple weeks ago. I got to see him speak. And this is exactly what he said, Smart Cookie. He lives his life based on like who's going to show up and what are they going to say at his funeral. And it was actually a pretty like emotional speech that he gave. But that's such a powerful one. So we need to stay tied to these things that are driving us. And if you're not getting results that you want in anywhere, not in government, just government contracting, but especially government contracting, if you're not finding the results, if you're not seeing the results, ask yourself, how tied are you to this? Why are you doing this? What brought you here in the first place? If you're not tied to that, now today is that opportunity for you. I don't know if you journal. Journaling is an amazing exercise. I don't journal every day, but a couple times a week I journal. and it keeps me honest. It keeps me on focused and on task. And it's a good thing to journal on. Like, if you don't know, if you're doing the thing and you don't know what your strong reason is behind doing it, there's nothing better you can do. To spend a day, a couple days, or a week at getting really clear as to why you're doing that and what it's going to do for you. Because it's everything. I promise you, it's everything. And the higher levels you go, and the more you learn, and just like the people you get to hang around who are actually like who are doing amazing things, this is what they tell you. It's what is. I heard recently, most people have a depth perception problem. Okay, this really like resonated with me, so hopefully it resonates with you. Most people have a depth perception problem. What does that mean? It's like, okay, how close, how near, how far, or something. For me, when I was learning how to park, driver's training, like I had a depth perception problem with parking the car, because when I pull into a parking spot, a space, with the two yellow lines, and then the line like that you pull up to the edge of the parking spot, I would stop like 5 feet short. And then the driving instructor would look at me and be like, get out of the car. Like, do you see? Like, because I thought I parked great. I'm in between the lines. I'm straight. I'm centered. I'm perfect, right? Get out of the car. Go look at what you did. And I go out and I look, and I was 5 feet. I still had 5 feet to go to pull the car up forward. Okay. I had a depth perception problem with driving, but most people have a depth perception problem with their visions and their goals and their desires and what the heck they're trying to do. And if you don't have any vision, if you don't have goals, if you're not wired this way, what I'm saying to you probably feels like a bunch of BS. So I'm only talking to people who have felt the call, who have felt that they're here to do something bigger with their lives. They're here to impact others. They're here to lead. They're here to do something worthwhile besides just what the government and life wants you to do, which is like work a 9 to 5 and be a good little person. I mean, at least in the United States, right? And have your little family, and go on your little vacations once a year, and just live your little life, because that's what we want you to do. And just make sure you're consuming everything you want you to consume, because that spins the economic wheel. Don't get me started. There's certainly a way that, quote unquote, they want us to live our lives, but so many of us do not feel like living our lives that way. And when do we wake up? When do we decide we're not going to live that way anymore? Like I said, unfortunately, we all get like a wake up call every 5 years where we're like we're put in a deep amount of pain, and then we're reminded like, well, what the heck am I doing this for anyways? I need to start living life on my terms. And then we're surrounded by this death wrap, right, of comfort. This reptilian brain we have that, part of our brain's like, we want to do this, but then our reptilian brain kicks in, and I don't know anything. I'm just like saying things, right, that we all know. I'm just saying things we've all heard, and I'm reminding of us. I'm not preaching in that sense, okay? I'm not the expert at this stuff. But then we have this part of our reptilian brain that kicks in, says, that means pain, that means death. Don't do that. So just stay comfortable, stay safe. And that's people who break through, that's what they're able to do. They're just able to force themselves out of this safe comfort zone into something, like jumping, a frog jumping to the next lily pad. If the frog doesn't jump, it's going to stay where it's at, and it's not going to know the new opportunities. But if it makes the jump, it's scary. It could die, or it's going to feel like it's going to die, even though it's just going to like jump in the water. Then it'll swim, and it's an expert swimmer, and it'll get back on the same lily pad anyways. But if it takes that leap of faith and it jumps, then it could totally change its life. It could be a lily pad that's twice the size, or whatever. Like, I think you get the point. To talk about my story, I've done multiple jumps in my life this far that were so scary to me. Like, felt like I was going to die. Literally felt like I was going to die. And I faced that, and I ended up on such a better place than what I was. Not just in terms of mental health and psychology, but just my lifestyle in general. If I would have been too afraid to do the thing, whatever the thing was that was required, today I would still be stuck there. I would still be stuck there, hating my life, being that lesser version of myself. Okay, like I'll tell you, and some of you probably know a little bit about my story, but I think I need to start sharing my story more, because I think my story will help to pave a path for you, or just let you know, yeah, this is super hard. It's super terrifying. And you know what? It is for everybody else too. So then at least you can be like, okay, I'm going to do this, instead of feeling like you're the only person that's facing leveling up to be that next version. But then you feel like you're the only one doing it because you're surrounded by comfort that keeps you from doing it. No, like we are, or we should be, brothers and sisters that are all taking these leaps of faith all the time, because it makes us better. And by making ourselves better, we make it better for everybody around us. And quite honestly, guys, I don't know if you know, but the world's going to hell. Like it lately, it really seems like it's on, the crazy train, right? We're on the highway to hell, it seems like. And the government it's not going to save us. And I firmly believe that entrepreneurs, business owners, we can make a huge impact on this planet, on our country, our state, our neighborhood, our city, and our house. If we have that calling, that drive, because not everybody has it. And if you're still watching this, you're probably like the one. Like you're probably the one for your family, or you're probably the one in your friends group. Because who sits and listens to this type of stuff? Okay, if you're here and you're listening, or you're watching this on replay and you're nodding through at least some of what I'm saying, you're probably the one. And so what are you going to do about it? And you need to know that you're not the only one. So for me, man, when I started government contracting, I was at the lowest point in my life. I was borderline suicidal, and I don't say that lightly at all. But I was getting to a point where I could not see myself getting out of mentally. Okay, so I was at the by far lowest point of my life when I started government contracting. I was at the lowest price, lowest point. I'm just checking the chat here, making sure we're still good. See, at the time I was the kid. Then I became the teenager that wanted to do everything right. Okay, I was the good little boy. I was the good son. I was trying to be the good student, which is why I'm such a pain in the ass now. I'm the opposite of that, because that didn't really go too well for me. Okay, I tried to do everything good. I tried to do everything that I was told. Never get in trouble. Never question anything. That brought me into a lot of pain. I went to school, got a bachelor's in finance. Graduated with my bachelor's in 2009. A bad time for the economy and for being a person to enter the job market, if you remember what 2009 was like. The housing bubble, massive layoffs, just like the domino effect, right? So what did I do? I said, okay, well, let's stay in for another 2 years. Go to grad school, get a master's degree, get an MBA in international business. I've always been passionate about business myself. I always knew I've been called towards business. Never knew why, just always was. And okay, well, let's stick it out. In that meantime, I didn't qualify for scholarships or anything like that. Didn't get any sort of assistance because my parents earned. We were middle class. So being middle class means you earn too much money, right, to get any sort of assistance. And it's fine. But I worked the whole time that I went through college, paid what I could, but I still ended up having $60,000 in debts and student loans and debts. And I was 24 when I had the one piece of paper with the degree. But then I had the other piece of paper with the bill. Kind of didn't seem worth it to me. But as soon as I graduated, I moved to Chicago. I was living in Southeast Michigan. Okay, shout out Southeast Michigan at the time. Got a job at John Hancock Retirement Plans, right? Because I was passionate about business, finance, all that sort of stuff. Went and lived in Downers Grove, Illinois for 4 or 5 months to get my financial certifications, my different series certifications. And then they closed. They closed the branch because of the economy. And so I had to move back home. And it was like, a month or two before Christmas. They gave me a signing bonus of a couple grand, which I spent to move. They took that back, which was total BS. Not a good start when you do all this buildup. You try to do everything right, and you have this amounting debt. Not a good start. That's all right. I'm resourceful. Professor I had helped me through undergrad and grad school. Helped give me a job as a manager of a jewelry store. Never thought I would go on to manage a jewelry store, and didn't really stay that long. Took about 6 weeks. Found out that the accountant, I kind of had two bosses, so I had to serve two masters. I had my boss, and then there was the accountant, the comptroller. So the boss would tell me to do one thing, and then the accountant would pull me aside and say, really what he means is this, do this. So she was totally undermining him. So after 6 weeks, I blew up on her, said you're total BS, let him run his company, went and told him what she was doing. He's like, thanks for letting me know, but we obviously can't keep you anymore. So found myself out of that job, for the start of the new year. So things were not going great. Not going great at all. Getting super stressed by now. I'm 0-2 for jobs with these student loans that I'm now deferring, and living at my parents' house, driving a broken down 99 Pontiac Sunfire that had been in 2 accidents. Trunk wouldn't open. It was dented closed. Gas cap rusted off, you name it, right? And I was the guy who was going to do everything right. Okay. I did all the things that I was supposed to. But what life was showing me was anything but that. And it increasingly became painful. So I said, okay, well, that didn't work. What am I going to do next? And I was stressful. And I try to have these conversations with God and talk to God. And sometimes I hear it and sometimes I don't. And at this time, I wasn't hearing it. And I remember I was laying on the floor. I literally cried myself to sleep in my parents' living room on one particular day. And you guys know that feeling when you when you're asleep, you're dreaming, and you just feel that feeling of falling, and it's this increasing feeling of momentum. And then right before you hit the ground, they say, you die or whatever if you don't wake up. I woke up. So I had that experience, literally cried myself to sleep because I was so stressed, didn't know what I was doing. I felt like a total failure in my life. I had this moment, falling, woke up, and you wouldn't believe the message that I had in my head. And this was what I'm about to tell you. I never had this thought before. The thought never entered my brain. So I ended up concluding that it wasn't my thought. I ended up concluding that this thing was put into my head for me. Okay. And I don't know if any of you can relate to that, or, you feel like you received a message from God, but I'm just going to say that I feel that I have. And I've had signs throughout my life that, looking back, I listened to them. I always listen to them. They always stick out to me. They're like, hey, Derek, focus, do this. This is the thing, right? And sometimes, you want these things to happen when you're having rough times, but you can't make it happen. So you just go through these long times of trying to get a message, get a sign, whatever, we get it. So I had this. And then the message that I had when I woke up from that falling moment and dream was, go talk to your old boss at Little Caesars about opening a pizza restaurant. And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? This is not, I never thought of it. Never once thought about ever doing this. I took it as a message from God. So the next day, because it was later on, the next day, I hadn't been to this, I worked at Little Caesars, nobody probably knows this, but throughout high school, I worked at Little Caesars, and then my first year of college. So 5 years, slicing pizza. If anybody doesn't know, my favorite food is pizza. I freaking love pizza to this day. I could eat pizza every single day. And I worked there so long, I actually loved Little Caesars. So I love Little Caesars pizza. I know I'll probably get some hate for that, but I just love it. I shamelessly love it. But I hadn't been back there in years. Think about it. I stopped working there my first year in college, went through undergrad, went through grad school, bounced around doing these things. Then I have this dream. It's go talk to Kevin, your old boss. I didn't even know if he owned it. I didn't know if he still worked there. I didn't know if he was going to be there on the day. So the next day I got in my car and said, all right, God, well, I'm going to go and do this. So I went, and who was at the front register? It was Kevin. I was like, wow. So the message, remember, that I got was, go talk to your old boss about opening a pizza restaurant. So I said, hey, Kevin, like, what's going on? Hey, just wanted to ask you something, let me buy some Italian cheese bread. Just wanted to ask you something, though. If somebody, not me, but if somebody wanted to like open a pizza place around here, what would you tell them? And so he was very clear what he told me. It was almost like he had this answer that he was just waiting to give. What he told me was, well, Derek, here's what I would do. If this was something that I really wanted to do, I would just commit to doing it. No, I wouldn't over research it. I wouldn't spend too much time on it, because if it's going to be one of those things that just like constantly bugs you, constantly eats away at you year after year, like maybe some of you feel that way about government contracting, right? He's like, just do it, and not just do it because you're going to be successful and you're going to make a bunch of money, you're going to own a franchise or whatever it is you're going to do. But just do it, because if it's going to work and if it's going to be the thing for you, you're going to be doing that so much sooner. And who wouldn't want that? And then if it doesn't work, then you so much more quickly discover that it's not the thing, and then you can move on from it. And I never forgot that piece of advice. I think it pertains to so many things. So that's what he told me. And I'm like, man, you're just going to drop that on me? But literally, I only got that answer because I had that calling to go and like ask him. And that's what he said. So what did my crazy ass do? I don't think I've ever told anybody on the channel this. What did I do? Well, I'm going to give you a clue. At the time, my mom was a real estate agent. What do you think I did? I said, Mom, just for curiosity's sake, could you look and just see if there was any pizza places for sale around where we live? She's like, what? Like, what kind of question is that? She'd go on the MLS, and she didn't find anything initially. And then she ended up finding one place. And she's like, oh my God, Derek, look at this. Read the description. Turnkey pizza restaurant, 12 minutes from our house. Turnkey meaning pots and pans, machines, dough machine, sheet out machine, everything. Okay, walk-in refrigerator, everything. Turnkey, ready to go, $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month. I was like, that's insane. So I kept kind of like, with what Kevin said and with what my mom found, like I couldn't deny these things. And I kept looking back, like, am I seriously like walking this path right now? Because the path just seems so like clear. And so we set up a meeting. We met with the landlord and his wife, a very old couple. They were really wanting to sell the business, but I wasn't ready to make that commitment. But I was able to rent it for $1,000 a month, rent everything, the building, the pots and pans and everything. And went and checked out the place. Like, it was good enough. And within like a couple of days, like I signed a lease. I signed an agreement. And then within about like 2 months or less, we had our grand opening. We ended up closing on a Friday night at 7 because I massively like underestimated my inventory needs, like cheese and pepperoni and just everything. We just sold out. And like I did that. And that was all that I had. It was just walking in faith. I did it for a year. I lost all of my money. I put 10K, ended up putting 10K in the business to like float paying employees and stuff like that. But looking back, it was the right thing to do. I don't know why I was meant to do that. I haven't figured that out yet, but I know I was meant to do it, and I did it. And even though I lost my entire life savings doing it, I guess the one thing that I said when I decided to close the business, because we just weren't making money, was I paid $10,000 for a $100,000 education. I learned so much from that. It became something that was like a massive investment that I made in myself, And it was something that I did at a time that I was able to like bounce back. I was able to recover from. Like I'm doing fine now, you know. But it was just like one step in my journey. And you see how full of faith that step was in. If I didn't do that, I don't know what I would have been doing. And maybe I just would have ended up like finding some job that I hated. But that step ended up becoming another step, right? So after that didn't work out. And I was very upset. I didn't have the hindsight at the time. I was very upset at that time. I lost all of the money, and student loans are still growing. You know, debts are being deferred. Not good. So I wasn't better after that. I was much worse after that. And so I'm back on the job market, looking for a job. I was an amazing interviewer, guys. I was an amazing interviewer. I like got every job I ever interviewed for. Kind of very polished speaker, had the right piece of paper, always worked out. But when I was interviewing during this time of hardship, or just life was not going the way I wanted it to, I couldn't get a job to save my life. I don't know why. I would go on like 2 and 3 interviews. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to get this job. I tell my parents, went great. They want me to do another interview. Then I end up not getting the job. Like doors were just closed. And I felt jaded. I felt like it was unfair. I felt like I was being tortured. Because I was trying. I was doing all the things that I was supposed to do. So what ended up happening? I ended up hearing about through my my college like portal that we still had access to, like a job portal. I found out about this like said government proposal writer and BD person. I'm like, okay, like I can do sales. I learned sales training from John Hancock. And I'm an entrepreneurial person. I like people. So I can do this. So I went to that, you know, the government contracting small business. I went there and it seemed so backwards to me. Like, yeah, like we go after contracts, but we go after a bunch of different types of contracts. And it's kind of up to you to like figure out what you want to go after. And yeah, we don't really have a great training process. And by the way, I don't even know what government contracting is. And they just really didn't like have their stuff together at all. So I interviewed at that place. And then I also, at the same time, I interviewed at 2 other jobs. I actually forget what the one job was, but then the other job was State Farm. State Farm, sell insurance. So I got offers from both jobs and I turned down the government contracting job. I don't ever tell anybody the full story. So if you're still on, you're watching this live or on replay, guys, you're hearing it first here. I've never said this before on the channel. I turned down the government contracting job. I turned it down and I wrote them an email, like a page, telling them how backwards they were. Like I totally burnt that bridge to a crisp, burnt it because I'm like, I don't need this. And I would never like do that because it seemed so whack. And then I went and accepted the job at State Farm. So then I spent a month or so to get, you know, certified to sell life and health insurance, to sell property and casualty insurance, 2 different licenses in the state of Michigan. And, you know, I should have been making like 40, 50K, like on an annual basis. But what ended up happening was I got licensed. I spent the money. They didn't even like sponsor me. Literally the guy, Bernie was his name. He put me in a room by myself while the whole rest of the team was kind of like all together. And so I immediately felt like isolated, and I didn't get it. I didn't know why he put me like in a room by myself all the way down the hall. It was just like what the heck, man? Like I try not to swear on the channel, but I was just like, WTF, like what? I don't get it. And he would like check on me twice a day. Hey, I sent you some leads, call on them. So the thing was like the way we were pricing State Farm products at the time, we were the highest on the market. So I just wasn't like getting any sales. So I was literally getting paid like a base of like $6 an hour, wasn't selling anything. And I just knew, because the cherry on top was the way that I felt I was being isolated and kind of treated. I knew, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to stay here. And I'm telling my parents and they're like, Derek, what are you going to do? Like, you have to you have to figure something out. I'm like, I know. Like, I'm 25, I'm 26. Like, what am I doing with my life? I feel like a complete failure. What's the point of having this MBA? And, you know, I tried to do a business and it failed. And like, then the thoughts started getting like really bad, right? And then one week while I was still doing this life insurance job, I only lasted there for a few months. Parents were visiting my brother. He was stationed in California, was just by myself at the house, and I was very, very stressed. I have this weird relationship with food. Like I'm a very emotional eater. Probably why I love pizza so much, right? So it's a comfort food for me. I love it. But I had just like eaten like so much food that night, and like sweet stuff. Like I was crushed like 3 bowls of cereal, multiple bowls of ice cream, and then switch over to the salty stuff. Like I don't remember what it was. And this probably had something to do with it. But that night I woke up around like 1 or 2 a.m. Just kind of like woke up out of sweat. Heart was racing, like racing. At the time I was really into like, interesting enough, like really into working out. So I would use like a heart rate monitor. So I kind of like knew like what a good, like what a heart rate was if I'm doing like high intensive interval training or something like that, where I'm sprinting or I'm doing really hard levels of workload. And I swear like my heart rate was like 160 or 170. Just waking up like from a sleep, like not good. And the other thing I noticed was like my face, like it felt like I couldn't feel my face, and it felt like I couldn't talk properly. I felt like my lips I felt weird, but just on the one side of my face. And then like my leg, like I'm like digging my nails into my leg, and I can't really like, it's hard even telling this story. Couldn't like feel it. And it was the right side of my body. And I was just like, oh my God, like I think I'm having a stroke, or I'm having something. Cause these are like signs of a stroke. So it would have been like this side of my face and this leg. And I was scared to death, man. Parents were gone, home alone, middle of the night. So I got up, and as soon as I got up, everything went whoosh. Have you ever actually experienced tunnel vision yourself? You had the whoosh effect, where literally like it's like a fisheye lens. Like it's cut off. It's kind of like dark and frayed around the edges. I was like, holy crap, like this is no joke. So I called the ambulance right away, and I just kind of like sat on the ground, and I was shaking, and I was trying to like just be coherent. And get an ambulance. I don't remember the ambulance ride at all. I remember when I got to the hospital though, I had just turned 26. My birthday is in July. It was like a week after July. It was like July 13th or something. Just my luck, right? Perfect timing. Turned 26. What happens when you turn 26? You get kicked off your parents' health insurance. You don't have Cobra anymore, or if you're going to stay on the Cobra, it's like $600 a month, which I did not have that kind of money. So there was this little lapse, and that was like all that I was focused on. And it was so sad. It's so sad that that's all that I cared about at that time, more than my health or like calling my parents or anything. All I could remember saying is, I don't have health insurance. Like, only do the minimum amount of tests that you can, because I can't afford any more bills, man. I've got this list of growing debts. Just don't do like the MRI. Like, don't do the stuff that's going to be big money, right? And it's so sad that that's all that I was focused on. Spent the night at the hospital. My buddy ended up coming and pick me up at like, I don't know, 7 or 8 a.m. Like, I don't even remember how I got home. I just know that he came and got me. And then for the next 2 or 3 weeks, like I couldn't focus my eyes. I couldn't focus anything, which was a totally different symptom than what I had experienced. Like the numbness went away, like that was all gone. But then I was extremely anxious. I had an extreme amount of anxiety. And so I was never able to be diagnosed with anything other than burnout, extreme stress, and anxiety. And I do believe, because anxiety runs in my family, so I do believe that's what it was. And even to this day, I have to watch it. That's why we're weaving in mental health into this. Like that was like scariest night of my life. And I was like, well, I can't do this. So I immediately quit State Farm, told them like, hey, I had a health scare. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm fine, but I'm not fine. But I can't keep working for you. They were super like concerned, and they just wanted to make sure I was okay. They didn't understand like why I was quitting, but I just knew like that was not working out. Again, had no idea what I was going to do. So here's a big slice of humble pie for you guys. I did the only thing that I could do. Remember when I said I wrote that page-long letter to that government contracting job telling them how whack and backwards they were? Guess now what I had to do. I needed a job. I said, his name is Roy. He ended up being my mentor. I emailed Roy back to that same, reply all or forward or whatever. I responded to that email initially that I sent. Said I was wrong. I would like an opportunity for a second chance. Did the State Farm thing because he had asked me. He's like, okay, I know you got multiple offers. Where did you go? He told me you're going to State Farm. It's a mistake. He's like, I'm telling you right now, it's a mistake. He told me that before I left, but I did it anyways. Okay. Which shows me like, I feel like certain things in life, you're going to end up doing whether you want to do it or not. Like you're going to end up going that path because, life has that path for you. God has that life path for you or whatever it is. You're going to end up doing it whatever you want to or not. The only thing you have control over is how hard you're going to make it on yourself. So I made it super hard on myself by kind of like, it seemed like the right opportunity at the time. Like this seemed backwards. It didn't glare out to me that I should have done the government contracting gig. It didn't. I was so convicted in not doing it. I wrote a whole thing and sent it to them, burned the bridge. So I had to take the slice of humble pie and say, you were right. You were right about State Farm. You were right that I shouldn't have been there. I would like that second opportunity. And I expected like all caps, like F you, buddy, like ha 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 ha, but Roy was not that kind of guy. Roy said, the type of person to come back here, basically crawling on your hands and knees, eating that blank sandwich is what it felt like. The person who can do that has a certain level of character to them that I'm willing to give a second chance to. So he gave me that. He gave me the chance, and that's how I got into government contracting. That is the real story. It's the path. This path was not straight. It was the furthest thing from straight. Okay. And guess what happened? I got the job. Okay. So at least I'm like, all right. I'm super skeptical. First week, boss tried to fire me. Boss fired me first week. Mentally, I'm like, here we go again, Derek. We're still on the damn roller coaster. We're not getting off yet. Roy stepped in and said, no, I'm not going to let you fire him. He was a recruiter. He was from the Army. He was a hardcore dude, man. He was hardcore, and he fought for what he believed in. He said, you're not going to fire this guy. I've seen the character this guy has. You haven't seen it because you haven't even worked with him. And by the way, why did my boss try to fire me? Anybody knows Oasis? The very first Oasis, GSA, or it wasn't GSA. It was just more of like a Maytalk. Like it was a huge vehicle that everybody was trying to get on. Think of like set-asides where like you can get in a reduced pool. Okay. Oasis. And then now there's, multiple versions of Oasis now. But so she put me on this huge government contract. Never did government contracting in my life. The reason that I was able to get the job, besides the story I told you, was I did I worked for a nonprofit while I was like going through college. And I did some proposal writing for the nonprofit. So they saw that also. But there was nothing to do with like writing proposals for government contracts, right? So after a week of me not being able to figure this stuff out, granted with zero training, she wanted to fire me. Very cutthroat Indian woman. Very smart lady. I have a lot of respect for her. And she did do a lot for me. But that first week, she fired me. And he stepped in and he blocked it. He was my shield. He said, no, I'm going to take him. We're going to move him down to the other side of the building. He's going to sit with me. And I'm going to teach him recruiting. I'm going to teach him business development. I'm going to teach him people because, okay, this proposal writing thing, didn't work out after a week. That was the first thing I did in government contracting. And again, it was only because he stepped up again, not once, but twice. Okay, like if this man wasn't in my life, like I wouldn't be talking to you here today. You wouldn't be listening to this. Okay. So I do believe people come into our lives. They say it's like the train ride. Some people get on, they stay for a while. Some people get on and they get off right away. Some people get on, they get off, and then they get back on, and then they get back off, and they just come into our lives at different times, right? I don't know if you've heard that analogy, but I love it. So Roy got on my train with me, and he was on my train with me for about 5 years, which is the amount of time that I worked for that company. And as you know, the road salt story and winning 32 contracts worth over $15 million and, becoming VP of sales, like the least likely to succeed, right? Training other people, training a sales team and flying around the country, going to conferences, PMing the contracts in construction, manufacturing, IT, like everything. Like we bought an airport, we bought a manufacturing division for cable harnesses. I seen so much in such a short period of time, and I've seen so much growth. Like what I know is possible is insane, because I saw like a $10 million company grow into, a $50+ million company, and multiple companies, because we were actually multiple companies and we were a parent company, and that's a whole nother story too. So on paper, it was different, but just as he came on my train, right? And if you know the road salt story, I was able to do that. The opportunity was not given to me. My boss hung up the phone with the contracting officer, said no. I was the one who had to step forward and say, that's an opportunity. If I can find the road salt, will you take this? And she laughed and she said, yes. So then I spent the next 2 weeks doing nothing else, right? Calling companies, landscaping, grounds companies. And then when I found okay, they don't have the salt because the barges froze for Michigan. But then I found a few that did, but they're like, we don't have trucks. Okay. Our trucks are already occupied to our existing seasonal customers, Derek. We can't take on any more customers. So you got to find your own truck. So then I'm calling trucking companies, right? And I do this for 2 weeks. Then I find this company in Ohio that says, we've got the salt, we've got the truck. This is the last of it. We need a commitment today if you're going to do this. So I called my boss, hey, I found it. Can you believe? I found it. So she's like, look, really? Let me talk to the sub. And the salt, the National Guard, that had to have this blue and yellow anti-caking dye agent. It had to be so specific per the specs and the statement of work. Yep, that's exactly what we have. We need a commitment today. So we committed to it. My boss called the contracting officer, said, hey, you know what? We have the road salt. And it ended up being a sole source. Why was it a sole source? Because nobody could find it. So the government was able to justify issuing that sole source. And, it being a lot of people talk, hey, Derek, how are you able to pass it through? Well, it was a sole source. It was also beneath the simplified acquisition threshold. At the time was 150K, where you can work with whoever you want. Not to mention it was a commodity buy. So there's still a number of reasons why it was a-okay to do that. And that was the first contract I won, because guys, now that you know my story, okay, it's been an hour. We've probably been talking about my story for 20, 30 minutes. Everything I went through, I put into that freaking road salt. All that, the pizza place and freaking State Farm and going to the hospital and the student loan debt and just being so sick and tired of being sick and tired. When I got my one opportunity, I freaking took it, and I took it like a Rottweiler, and I did not let it go. It was that type of tenacity that I had, and I kept throughout for years, which is why I grew with the company. I had no training. I had to figure this stuff out. We had no training process, no training handbook. Most of the people I worked with started at the same time that I worked with. So we all were looking at each other I don't know, let's figure it out, right? So I made so many mistakes. I had so many lessons learned. And so I try to bring that to you guys, because I went through the gauntlet. I went through the fire. I was tempered by the hottest flames, because I had to be. I had to be. It was either that or death for me. I literally, there was no other choice. It was literally between a rock and a hard place, and I had to push that boulder off of me, and I did it. And I paid off all my student loans. I saved more money than I ever thought I would. I made multiple people wealthy individuals. I made them rich, because I made them millions of dollars in profit after tax, because of our margins and the contracts that I brought in. I'm not talking about contracts that I worked on, okay? I'm talking about contracts that I brought into the door. because beyond that, there's so much more that I've worked on that were not in my book of business that I don't ever take credit for. But 32 contracts, $15 million, you run the numbers, it's a few million in profit. Okay. And that's what I brought to them. And I got scraps. Okay. But scraps for me at the time was way more than what I ever had and ever made. And all of that became possible. And then, 3 years in, Roy gets cancer. And then I get the, I don't know what you call it, a privilege, an opportunity to see somebody spend their last 2 years of their life, and spend a lot of that with them. It's just because like what he did for me, I guess. This is ridiculous. So after I went to his funeral, I wasn't there much longer either because, he got on my train, and I kind of left with him too. And that was so hard because I actually wanted to leave for about 18 months before I actually left. What happened was the company grew. We won a lot of contracts, and I became my boss's right-hand man. The last year, we hired a lot of people. My boss hired a retired lieutenant colonel with the Army, and he wanted to be my boss's right-hand man. So these Army guys or these military guys, like when you get to a certain level, it's all politics. Like it's all politics. And I think most things, when you get to certain levels, it's all politics. I was just some kid that was super raw and just super real and super determined to have a better life. And I used government contracting to do that. And I did that. But not everybody liked that. And so he set me up for so many times to fail. And I'm super keen. I'm super skeptical person. I don't warm up to people quickly. I'm not, I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert. I just have these qualities. I knew from the second I saw him that he was a snake. He was a cold-hearted snake. And I tried to warn everybody. I tried to tell everybody, but nobody saw it because the only person he was coming after was me. So for a year, I tried to we had somebody in HR. I told them what he was doing. For example, he would send me on site visits. Why was he telling me what to do to begin with after I had been there for more than 4 years and I was writing my own ticket? My boss gave him the power over me. Why? Because he's a retired lieutenant colonel. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like I had more than earned my place there, more than everybody, quite honestly. But she gave him power over me. And so he would send me, for example, on site visits, and I was supposed to meet his quote unquote people there. And then he would give me the wrong address, or he would tell his people to go at a different time. And then I would miss it. And then it would come back to him. And then he would go and tell my boss. And then my boss would come down to me, Derek, we never, ever had these type of problems with you. What's going on? I'm like, I'm not having a problem. And he would never put anything in writing. So he would just say it to me. Then I would get some stuff and I would show it to HR. And then they would they would always take his side. So God was making it very clear to me, okay, Derek, you got to go, man. You've done something amazing here, but it's time for you to go. And if you stay, I'm going to keep making it harder and harder and harder for you. And that's exactly what happened. It got harder and harder and harder and harder. And I didn't know what to do. So I kept saying, God, what am I supposed to do? I'll leave. Tell me, what am I supposed to do? I will leave today. Tell me what I'm supposed to do. And I would get answers. This time when I would ask, because I was in the desert, I was in a very hard place, I would get the same answer over and over and over again. I was so sick and tired of hearing that answer. You know what that answer was? It was have faith. I'm like, quit telling me to have faith. I have faith. So what I would do, and what I thought have faith meant was, it was stick it out. It was have faith, Derek. It's going to get better. Have faith, Derek. You're going to you're going to like go open a second office, because that's what we talked about. She was going to have me open my second office down here in the South. Ironically, now I live in Alabama anyways, but we literally, life is so funny, guys. Like she talked about opening a second office and having me do it down here, like in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, or down like in Tennessee or in Alabama. And then like a few years ago, my parents said, we're going to move to Alabama, and I followed them. And like, so I'm still, you know what I'm saying? Like I still ended up here anyways, even though like I fought it and I resisted it. And I don't believe that it was right for me to do that when my boss teed that up for me anyways. But I'm kind of getting all over the place. You guys still with me? Is this making sense? I've got a low battery thing going off over here. You guys still with me? Reese says, loving the story. Love the road salt story. Awesome, guys. Tosca, you were the life of that company. I'm sure she's glad she didn't fire you. Invictus, hell of a story, brother. Smart cookie, I'm a pizza snob for sure. Cool, guys. I know I'm a little bit all over the place, trying to get back on track here. So anyways, the message I kept getting is have faith, have faith, have faith. I'm like, what does that mean? And I like I said, I took that to mean stick it out, just be stronger, like stretch, grow. And so I would dig in, and I would be like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to like, I started working on building a software, a bid tracking and a proposal writing software for the company. And I started working with these guys in IT that we had working on IT contracts, right? But they're part-time, and they're geeks and nerds, like in the best way possible. So they wanted to do this too. And I'm the furthest from a technology guy. So I'm like, okay, let's take the brains and the know-how and the knowledge, because I've done it. And then these masterminds who can build it. So I started building stuff, right? And then Lieutenant Colonel comes by and like kills it. We'll never use that. That's a waste of money. We should just go buy the software. So when I would hear let's have faith, I would dig into these cool projects and try to do these next level things. Then it would get killed. It would get chopped and it would get chopped, right? And you can only do that for so long. But I kept hearing have faith, so I kept doing things like that until, Roy's funeral came, and then I was like in tears. I was beyond tears one night in my 1-bedroom apartment that was 2 minutes from work. My girlfriend was over, the girl that I'm still with for 5 years, who's awesome and supports me every single day. And I appreciate and love her so much. I was talking to her, and I was it's the first time I ever told anybody like what was going on. And I said, I keep asking, and I keep being told to have faith. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then, so like in that moment, like I don't remember all the details, but in that moment, I was just like, what does have faith mean? Like, I've been having faith. What do you want me to do? I've been having faith. And I got the same answer, guys. I got the same exact answer that I've been had for 18 months, but it had a whole different meaning. And like I told you, when I get these signs, I move on them. Like I listen to them. When I'm like, okay, this is the sign, I know for sure this is the sign, I move, because I trust God. Okay. And I don't go to church. I've never been to church. Okay. It's just how I've been my whole life. I just feel like I have this conversation, and I always listen to it. So I heard this time in this extreme moment where I was crying and everything. I was talking to her. I was just venting. I was just pouring it out. And it was like the first time I let it out to somebody, because I didn't know what I was going to do. Like I was being tortured. The pain was so intense. I'm not going to get into all the things that were wrong about the company that I worked for, but nobody should have to work there. And if it's any indication that we lost 1 employee per week, and we were about a 20 to 30 employee organization at any given time, that is amazingly high turnover, and it should speak for itself at how bad it was as like a employment place to work. The meaning that I got in this extreme moment, have faith, Derek, hit me on the top of the head. It was like, no, Derek, don't have faith sticking it out. You're torturing yourself. You have to have faith, and instead do the hardest and scariest thing that you know that you need to do. like, it wasn't much for me to bring home like 5 to 10K a month, with bonus checks and commission checks and salary. Okay. That wasn't much. And then I would get an annual bonus. That was awesome. I was making really good money. And I was like, at this time I was 30. So for a 30-year-old and who didn't know anything else, right? Because nothing else had worked for me. And I had been here for 5 years. I just passed my 5-year anniversary. It's all that I knew. So have faith, Derek. You have to do the hardest, scariest thing that you can think of to do. You are super unhappy. The pain I'm putting on you is so intense in a way that it was a different type of intensity when I didn't have a job. And I went through my earlier story with going from job to job and nothing worked out. And I was in the hospital and all that stuff, right? The intensity of this pain, it was so much more painful. And so the message was, you have to do the hardest and scariest thing that you have to do, which is leave this job. And you have to break these golden handcuffs. Because I've always been a financial person. I always save every dime. So you have to leave. You have to break the golden handcuffs. You gotta leave the money. And have no idea what you're going to do. I'm not telling anybody to do this. And I wouldn't have done it. I would not have done this if I did not get the wallop on my head, which I believe was a message from God, who gave the new meaning, because he's like, okay, he actually has shown faith. Okay, he stuck it out 18 months of excruciating pain. I need to give this guy a clue. Like I said, I'm a slow learner. It takes me a while. I don't know why I make things so hard on myself. And I got that, just like I got the pizza thing put into my head. Boom. It was like, boom. You got to leave, say goodbye to the money. Things are going to get rough. And you have to, you don't have a plan of what you're going to do. That's your task, Derek. Go walk away from the 6 figures. And the job is 2 minutes away from your house. And a city that you're living in that's totally foreign to you because you grew up in the country and you're a country boy that grew up on 10 acres where your nearest neighbor was, half a mile away, and when you get snowed in, it takes 2 days to get dug out because you're the last road that the county comes in and plows out. Okay. That's what I come from. Not in this city place that's totally foreign to me. And what did I say I do when I hear these messages? I listen to them. But guys, I was so terrified. I was like, God, why? Why are you gonna put that on my heart? Why are you going to give me this? Make it easier. And it was just like, this is what you have to do. So I did it, and I'm not preaching to you guys. It's my story and it's my journey, and I cannot deny it. And I think by telling my story, hopefully, if any of you guys are going through any of these points, and we never stop. Like I'm going through another one right now. But if it helps you guys, that's why I'm sharing it. I'm just trying to keep it really, really real with you. And I'm not trying to preach to you at all. I'm just sharing my life experience. And that's the one thing that I do feel like I have the right to share. So I did it. I quit. My boss, I had many opportunities to fail this test. I believe it was a massive test. I was put up to see if I was going to pass or fail this test. Am I going to stay small? Am I going to hold back, play it safe? My boss offered me a lot more money. And a lot more on top of that she said, I won't even tell you all the extra stuff I'm going to do for you financially, unless you say you're going to stay. If you say you're going to stay and you commit to staying, then I'll let you know what the rest of it is. It was going to be so good. It's going to be so good. So it was like this amazing thing, or like just trusting and having faith in this message that I got. Well, like I said, when I get these things, I follow them. And I said, she's like, take 2 weeks to think about it. Okay. We're going to pay you. We're not going to stop your pay. Go on a vacation, take 2 weeks, do whatever you got to do. Then just come back and give me your answer. We don't want you to make anything you're going to regret or whatever. So they paid me for another 2 weeks. I had some heart-to-heart conversations. I tried to figure it out. I came back and I said, I'm gone. I'm done. They said, okay. They didn't say much. They wouldn't let me go back to my computer. I had pretty much already cleared out my desk. And that was it. I was done. Like, it was all over with. And then I just had me in my apartment, and I had no clue. And I didn't feel some sort of big relief. I didn't feel some big weight lifted off my shoulders, like some big burden. I just felt like a normal. I was like, okay, like, what are we going to do now? Because you think when you do these extreme things, it's going to feel like a certain thing, or when I attain this, it's going to be so awesome. So awesome, or whatever. I didn't have any real good feelings. Just kind of felt a little numb. So me and my girlfriend, we had a trip to the Bahamas planned. We did that. That was like within like a week or two of being off. I came back and I was like, okay, I need to figure something out. The one thing that was on my mind wasn't a message or anything, but what was just on my mind, like tactfully thinking, logically, I'm like, well, okay, I know I'm good at this government contracting thing. I don't know anybody who does it. I don't even know if anybody's like, I mean, even scratch that. I wasn't even there yet. I was just like, I know a lot of government contracting stuff. And because I'm out of the loop, I'm afraid I'm going to forget it. So I want to write it all down. So that's what I did. Like, I wrote it all down, and like, I just wrote. I wrote for days, like 12-hour days. I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And I wrote down everything. And I stepped back and I had written a freaking book. Didn't set out to write a book. I wrote my book, Winning Government Contracts, How I Won 32 Government Contracts by my 30th birthday, worth over $15 million. Actually, you guys have been super awesome. Do you want that book? Like, literally the book that I wrote at this time in my life. I can give it to you right now. I can give you the link for a free download. Wasn't planning to do this, but it doesn't even matter. Here's the link. Somebody wants to test that link. Make sure that it works for you. Just let me know in the chat, thumbs up. But I'm looking at it on my end, and it looks like you may have to like create like a. I don't know if you have to create like a username or like a login for Teachable. You may not have to, but it should be fine. Like, let me know. So I poured all that down, and like, that's how the book was like created. And so that's why I just linked up, like, that's the actual book. And I'm just doing that, like, in case like my story inspires you or whatever, or if you listened today or you're listening on replay, you can like put the book to the story, right? It's all in there. So I wrote the book, and then I started making like a couple videos on YouTube, and I was just like talking, like, and if you go back, like if you watch the road salt story, it's just like me and like one of my girlfriend's son's bedroom, and like there's this weird table in the back, and I have like this lavalier mic because I thought it would be cool. So I had like the cord, you can see the cord running outside. I didn't even have like a legit mic. And what happened was, like, people started watching my YouTube videos, and that kind of brings us up to present day, except now we're 4 years in doing this. And I've been called to lead. I've been called to help. I realized that my learning deficit, or whatever it is, me being an extremely slow learner, and things overwhelm me and complicate me quite a bit. And then I realized, hey, this government contracting, like, it was super overwhelming and complicated for me too, but it's so simple to me. Like, I can make such sense of it. And I think I'm able to explain it in a way that makes sense. So then I started creating like videos from that standpoint, like just trying to like break things down and make them simple. And that's how GovCon Method was born. Built the website, built the channel, and then just try to create more opportunities for people to, find success for it. Checking. Yeah, I think you guys you might have to log in for the link. I don't have a login that I can give you. Like, you'll have to create one. Somebody else is saying it works. So yeah, I think you just have to like be logged in. Hopefully that's the case. And so that brings to present day. So we've talked about a whole lot today. I've went into things that I wasn't planning on, but I hope that my story reflects some of your story. And the question I started out answering or asking during this live stream is, what brings you to government contracting? You see what brought me to government contracting. And it wasn't government contracting. It was what I wanted it to mean for me. And now for the last 4 years, I've been privileged and blessed to be able to help people in this space to win contracts and build their own government contracting businesses so that they can attain those things personally and financially, what motivates them and their goals and their lifestyle and whatever. It's been the greatest blessing in my life to be able to do this. And I hope that I'm able to continue to keep doing it. But I just think there's so much, and I'm guilty of this, tips and strategies and tactics and what to do and what not to do and shiny objects and all this stuff, that we lose faith, or we don't lose faith. I don't mean to say we lose faith. We lose focus on what brought us here, like in the first place. And sometimes our own stories are all we need. Like what we've been through in the past is exactly what we need to get us through what we're going through in the future. So I think that's all that I really have to say, guys. It's been awesome kind of doing this. I don't do this a whole lot on this level. Hope that you guys got something out of it. Looks like the book link is working if you log in. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome stuff in the chat, guys. I'm reading through all your messages. I'm not reading everything out loud, but I appreciate the comments and the feedback. I appreciate the recognition. And this is not some sort of like, I'm doing this. I'm going like, this is painful. Like the story was painful for me to go through. Right. I was tearing up at one point in time. I'm just sharing it so that it can help you if you're needing it. And I think the more that we can share, the more that we can help to make this world a better place. And I'm no Mother Teresa. Like, I'm here to help you with government contracting. I've built a business off of helping people build businesses in government contracting. Like, I'm as most transparent as you're going to get. And that's why I say I'm blessed and privileged to be able to serve in that capacity. And I was able to take something that was so difficult for me to go through and use it in a way so that hopefully it's not so difficult for other people, and that you can use this as a vehicle to because your story is different than mine, but we can all use this as a vehicle. Nobody has to do government contracting. All right, guys, we're going to end it here. We've gone super long today. So thanks for hanging out. Hope this was awesome. And yeah, like, hopefully this touched some of you. Hopefully, maybe. I don't want to be naive in thinking of my story is so inspirational or anything, but maybe it helped some of you guys. All right, take care. We'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.